This is the third card we're going to make, a snowflake card. So very similar to the tree card, we've got a die cut with an outline that we've used some embossing powder on. The difference here, and I'm going to use this little tea light to show it to you, is the stained glass part is frosted. And the way we did that is by using some matte medium, and then I chose to mix in some glitter. Now the glitter isn't super sparkly, so you don't really see a lot of shimmer. It just adds more texture to it than anything. But here's how we're gonna do. I've got everything die cut, my card base, my snowflake pieces, and then I've got the 2 snowflakes here that we're going to use for the last step. This particular die creates this piece as well. You could take it if you want and add it to the front, but for me, I chose not to because it covered a little bit of that frosted glass look, and I wanted to be able to see that. So let's get to it. So I've got a bigger piece of acetate here. It is actually the size of a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. I don't need it to be quite that big, and I don't want to chance that it's going to go past my edges. So I'm going to trim about 1/4 inch off. Technically I could do it shorter just to do it to not do it in there, but that's okay. So let's toss that away, put the scissors aside, and once again we're going to glue this on. So I want to get glue in all of those bits there that are poking in, anything that could possibly lift up. And once again, it doesn't need to be a thick bead of glue. A thin bead of glue is totally fine, but I just want to make sure that all of those little bits and pieces get glued down onto the acetate. And you can choose how intricate or how simple the dies that you use for this are. The stained glass techniques will work with any of the 3 designs. I just wanted to be able to show a few different ways to do that, so that if, say, you didn't have one of the products but you had another one, you absolutely could still do it. All right, the outline is done, and now I'm going to go around the edges just to glue that down a little bit. So making sure that all of my edges of my acetate are within the card front. And then again, I need to choose which one of these I want to use as my card front. I'm going to choose that one there. So these 2 are going to get glued down, same as the tree. And as you can see, I go around the perimeter of the piece of cardstock, and then I go around all of the die cut edge. Especially when you have a die cut that's as intricate as this, it does get a little bit fiddly going through all of these little bits. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think that the final card result is a lot more, it's got a lot more wow factor to me when the die cut is a little bit more intricate. But as a beginner, I would definitely start with something a little bit simpler and try your hand at it first, and then work your way up to a die cut that's a little bit more intricate and detailed. So once again, making sure to line up all of that die cut there. And then I'm pushing down all of those bits to make sure that they've got some contact with the acetate. And then repeat the process for the next piece. And you absolutely could do this without adding the glitter to it. You could just use the matte texture paste. I just thought it would look neat with a little bit of extra texture in it. I think I just called it texture paste. Matte medium. And obviously this time, because we added the glitter and also because it's a snowflake, we didn't color it with anything. But if you chose a design that lended itself to a different color, you absolutely could color it in with either alcohol inks or dye re-inkers. There we go. And then line it up once again. There we go. And then once again, I like to put a piece of, sorry, lost my English, acrylic block on it. Sometimes I'll put something with glass beads in it just to give a heavier weight, but you definitely don't need to. I just like something that will press it down. Often cardstock, when you've got liquid mediums and stuff like that, it tends to, the cardstock tends to warp or lift up or whatever, especially with all of those little bits on that the Snowflake has. So I'm just using that acrylic block to hold it down. I could use my hands and hold it down as well, but it's going to be awfully boring to watch. So I've got my matte medium here on my surface. I'm going to add some glitter to it, and I mix it through just the same way as mixing a color. And the glitter that I have is like microfine. It's really, really fine glitter, but you could use a chunkier glitter as well. That part's not going to matter at all. All right, once it's mixed, we can lift this up and we can add our medium to our snowflake. And this one, just like the gloss medium, is going to take overnight to dry. So you definitely want to put it somewhere where you're not going to be working around it, touching it, and just let it on its own to dry. All right, we've got everything covered. So then I'm going to use the texture or the palette knife to smooth that out. And I am avoiding the back of the card when I'm using this. It's easier because you've got those 2 layers of cardstock, so it's raised up a bit. Now I like to make it nice and smooth. If you wanted, you could make it a little bit textured, but I like it when it's a little bit smoother. The textured would look really, really cool with the tree shape. All right, there we go. So I'm going to set that aside to dry. I will see you tomorrow when we will finish this card off. I did it again. I got ahead of myself again. Before I finish this section, we're going to do the same to the snowflake that we did with the tree. I'm going to put some Versamark ink and I'm going to put some embossing powder on it. So the tree I did gold embossing powder. This one I'm doing a liquid platinum. You could also use silver. I just thought the liquid platinum has almost a bit of a earthy brownie tone to it. Like it's a silver that's got a bit of a brownie tone that I kind of liked. I thought it made it look a little bit more elegant. And to me, it looks a little bit more like the leading on stained glass. So let's put the excess back in the container here. And then once again, I'm going to use my die pick to hold it while I'm embossing. Perfect. Now I only do 1 layer of embossing. If you wanted, you could put more Versamark on it and you can add a 2nd layer just to thicken that up a bit, but I like it just the way it is. So now I'll see you tomorrow and we'll finish the card off.